The Georgia Bulldogs got some big news this week as multiple draft-eligible players have decided that they want to return to Athens and play between the hedges in the 2021 season. Of course, we're talking about JT Daniels, the quarterback, Devonta Wyatt, the defensive lineman, and James Cook, the running back, and that's what this video is all about and why James Cook returning is huge for the Georgia Bulldogs in 2021. What's going on, guys? Matt DeBerry, dogpost.com, making you a smarter Georgia fan. Listen, he didn't lead the team in rushing this year. That's Zamir White, who has yet to decide or make a decision on his NFL draft status, whether he's going to leave early or come back to Athens. Right now, I think that he is going to leave, which makes James Cook's decision to return that much bigger. 45 rushes for, I believe, 303 yards. Seems a little on the short end on rushes and total yards. I thought both were more. Found the end zone 3 times, but he's versatile. We've seen what he can do in the passing game. We saw the long touchdown against Alabama. I think he had like 25 catches, 250 or so receiving yards, and 2 touchdowns there. So he can hurt you in a number of different ways. Going into this season, I thought he was more of a weapon than an actual running back, but as the year went on, he did much better game by game of running between the tackles, and a lot of that has to do with Georgia's offensive line. If there were about 3 defenses, Arkansas, Mississippi State, and Cincinnati, who bottled up Georgia's rushing attack and those running backs. But more often than not, the Georgia offensive line gave these guys some holes to run through. And if you're giving James Cook some holes to run through, he's going to take advantage of that. And again, he doesn't have a ton of stats, but this is a guy who could have gone to the NFL. We know his brother, Dalvin Cook, is one of the best running backs in the NFL right now with the Minnesota Vikings. Now, he's not his brother, Dalvin, but we've seen flashes of what he can do as just an overall weapon. You can put him in the slot. He can catch passes. He's done a lot of that at Georgia. So his skill set matches what teams are trying to do in the NFL. So there was a chance I thought he might go because that was his whole plan. I mean, he's part of Georgia's 2018 recruiting class, all those 5 stars, and they were told, hey, 3 and out, that's what we want to do for you. That's what Kirby's telling them and their family. So at the end of the day, 3 years are up and he has a decision to make. Hey, do I go to the NFL or come back? And, he decided to stay. That's huge. Again, I don't blame any running back for wanting to go to the NFL after 3 years. No one blames Zamir White either. Listen, we see it every year. 6th rounders, 7th rounders, undrafted running backs take their shot in the NFL. And if they're in the right opportunity, a couple guys to go down in front of them and they take advantage of being in the right place and the right offense with the right teammates and the right system where they can succeed. And again, if there's holes to be run through at college or the NFL level, these running backs are talented enough to get the job done. If you open up a hole for a guy in the NFL, he's going to go through. He's a professional athlete. That's why a lot of these running backs aren't picked in the 1st or 2nd round. So I don't blame Zamir White if he ends up going and catches on somewhere. I think he could become a nice complementary 3rd or 2nd running back on a team early on. And I think that's what James Cook could be too. It won't be this year because he's coming back to Athens, but I do think he has the potential to play at the NFL, especially when we're seeing so many running backs making an impact in the passing game, getting dumped down, checked down, passes from quarterbacks to help the run, and James Cook can do that for you. So again, there was a small chance I thought he might take his chances and enter early, but he's coming back, and it looks like he'll be Georgia's leading rusher from the previous season on next year's roster. I guess it's this year's roster. It is 2021. So right now I expect him to get the most touches of any back right now. Kenny McIntosh is going to get his looks. Very kind of similar player to James Cook. They're both kind of slashers, guys who can catch the ball out of the backfield. But if you give them any type of space, James Cook has proven that, and so has Kenny McIntosh this year, that they can do some damage. So they're going to have the offensive line's help next year no matter what. But Georgia has backs. They've got guys who can play really well and take them to an SEC championship and beyond next year. We saw what Daijun Edwards can do with some room to run. Kendall Milton, if he's healthy, that's your bruiser. That's your guy who you can rely on in the second half to break tackles. James Cook will make you miss. Kenny McIntosh will make you miss. Kendall Milton will run through you. He'll bounce off of you, keep going, and he could pick up some big first downs. He did that a few times this year when he was healthy. So you've got backs who complement each other really well, and James Cook, a do-it-all weapon, who's now a legitimate running back from the University of Georgia. He's coming back, and again, that's absolutely big. He shared carries his freshman year with DeAndre Swift, and again last year too in 2018 and 2019. This year was just splitting carries with Zamir White, but That's what Georgia does. Everyone's going to get their share of touches. That's why they're being recruited, and that's why they go to Georgia. They know that Georgia rotates their backs. They're all going to get touches. But next year, I do think that James Cook is a guy who could get a lot of touches. We'll see. I don't expect Lavasia Carroll to come in and make that much of an impact. Dejan Edwards is still going to be the number 4 guy, I guess, behind James Cook, Kenny McIntosh, and Kendall Milton. So there's still guys back there, and they're all going to get their touches too. But if I'm Todd Monken, I'm absolutely loving this because James Cook can do so much for this offense. So we've seen in the past 4 games, I don't want to say he struggled for 2/3 of the season, but he didn't light it up as he did since JT Daniels has come back. Really, he scored 4 touchdowns between the Missouri game and South Carolina. I think he had over 100 rushing yards against South Carolina with 2 touchdowns, about 80 total yards against Missouri, rushing touchdown and a receiving touchdown. So 4 of the 5 touchdowns that he scored have come in the last 2 games of the regular season. So he's playing his best football right now, and another year off season in Athens, I think could prepare him to an even bigger year in 2021. So very, very big news for the Georgia Bulldogs in the year 2021. Guys, I really appreciate y'all watching this video. As always, stay tuned to the next video coming up right now, and I'll see you over on the website.